What could be so devastating that comedy legend Carol Burnett, who made millions laugh for 11 straight years, still refuses to watch an episode she filmed nearly 50 years ago? The answer lies in a February night in 1977, when America's beloved comedian created television gold that cut so deep it made her entire studio audience fall silent, and her crew break down in tears. For over a decade, The Carol Burnett Show was America's comedy sanctuary. Every Saturday night, families gathered around their television sets to watch Carol and her incredible ensemble cast bring joy into their homes. But on February 12, 1977, something happened that would haunt Carol Burnett for the rest of her life. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a technical error. It was a performance so raw, so emotionally devastating, that it transcended comedy and became something far more profound. To understand why this particular episode affected Carol so deeply, we need to talk about Eunice Harper Higgins. If you're familiar with The Carol Burnett Show, you'll remember the family sketches. Those hilariously dysfunctional domestic scenes that made audiences both laugh and cringe. At the center of these sketches was Eunice, played by Carol herself, a perpetually frustrated housewife trapped in a cycle of disappointment and unfulfilled dreams. Eunice lived with her domineering mother, Thelma Harper, better known as Mama, and brilliantly portrayed by Vicki Lawrence, and her bumbling husband Ed, played by Harvey Korman. The family dynamic was pure comedy gold. Mama's cutting remarks, Ed's cluelessness, and Eunice's desperate attempts to break free from her mundane existence. But Eunice wasn't just another character for Carol Burnett. She was deeply personal. Carol had poured her own experiences of growing up in poverty, dealing with family dysfunction, and struggling to find her place in the world into this character. Eunice represented every woman who felt trapped, every dreamer who felt their aspiration slipping away. The episode that Carol refuses to watch was titled 80 Gorm. Eunice Higgins on The Gong Show. The premise seemed simple enough. Eunice would get her big break by appearing as a contestant on The Gong Show, the wildly popular amateur talent competition hosted by Chuck Barris. For those unfamiliar with The Gong Show, contestants would perform their acts, and if the celebrity judges found them terrible, they'd strike a large gong, ending the performance in humiliation. In the sketch, Eunice prepares for what she believes will be her moment of stardom. She's going to sing Feelings, that schmaltzy 1970s ballad that was everywhere at the time. For Eunice, this isn't just a performance. It's her escape from the suffocating life she's been living. It's her chance to prove she's more than just a frustrated housewife from a dysfunctional family. Carol Burnett's preparation for this sketch was meticulous. She understood that Eunice's performance on The Gong Show wasn't just about comedy. It was about hope, dreams, and the crushing weight of disappointment. What was supposed to be a funny bit about a delusional amateur performer became something far more profound when the cameras rolled. Something magical and heartbreaking happened. Carol, as Eunice, delivered a performance that was simultaneously hilarious and devastating. She sang Feelings with such earnest conviction, such desperate hope, that the audience didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The brilliant tragedy of the sketch was that Eunice wasn't terrible. She was genuinely trying her best. Her performance wasn't laughably bad. It was painfully sincere. She poured her heart into every note, believing this was her moment to shine. And when the inevitable gong sounded, signaling the end of her performance and her dreams, something broke inside both the character and the actress portraying her. The studio audience, accustomed to laughing at Eunice's misfortunes, found themselves in stunned silence. This wasn't the usual comedic dysfunction they'd come to expect. This was a human being having her dreams crushed in real time. And it was too real, too painful to laugh at. What happened after the sketch ended was unprecedented in Carol Burnett show history. The usually boisterous studio audience sat in uncomfortable silence. Crew members, who had worked with Carol for years and had seen every possible comedic scenario, were wiping away tears. Even Carol's co-stars were visibly moved by what they had just witnessed. Harvey Korman, who played Ed Higgins and was known for his comedic timing, later admitted that he struggled to stay in character during the sketch. Tim Conway, another show regular, described the atmosphere as electric with emotion. The entire production team knew they had captured something special, and something that cut too close to the bone. For Carol Burnett, the experience was transformative and traumatic. She had always been a method performer, throwing herself completely into her characters. But with Eunice's gong show performance, she had tapped into something so personal, so raw, that it left her emotionally drained. So why, after nearly 50 years, does Carol Burnett still refuse to watch this episode? The answer lies in the dangerous territory between comedy and tragedy that she explored that night. Carol has always been open about her difficult childhood, growing up with alcoholic parents, living in poverty, and using humor as a survival mechanism. Eunice's desperate performance on The Gong Show wasn't just acting. It was Carol reliving her own experiences of hope and disappointment. In interviews, Carol has described the episode as too close to home. She's explained that watching Eunice's dreams get crushed reminds her too much of her own struggles, her own moments of feeling like a failure. The character of Eunice was always a way for Carol to process her own pain. But this particular sketch pushed those boundaries too far. The episode also represented something deeper about the nature of entertainment and our relationship with failure. The Gong Show was built on the premise of public humiliation. People would perform their hearts out, only to be literally gonged off the stage. For Carol, who had experienced her own share of rejection and failure on her way to stardom, the sketch hit too close to home, despite, or perhaps because of, its emotional intensity. The February 12, 1977 episode became one of the most memorable in Carol Burnett show history. It demonstrated the show's ability to transcend pure comedy and touch on deeper human truths. The episode is still discussed by television critics and comedy scholars as an example of how humor can be used to explore complex emotions. The sketch also marked a turning point in how Carol approached the Eunice character. While she continued to perform as Eunice in subsequent episodes, and later in the spin-off series Mama's Family, she was more careful about the emotional depth she explored. The Gong Show episode had shown her just how dangerous it could be to mine her own trauma for comedy. Interestingly, the episode also highlighted the incredible chemistry between Carol and her ensemble cast. Vicki Lawrence's performance as Mama during the sketch was equally powerful, providing both comic relief and emotional support for Eunice's journey. The entire cast understood they were part of something special, even if it was too emotionally intense for comfort. Today, at 91 years old, Carol Burnett remains one of television's most beloved figures. She's won countless awards, influenced generations of comedians, and created a legacy that will endure for decades. But she still won't watch that one episode from February 1977. Perhaps that's the ultimate testament to the power of great performance, when art becomes so real, so truthful, that even its creator can't bear to witness it again. The episode that Carol Burnett refuses to watch isn't just a piece of television history. It's a reminder that the best comedy comes from the deepest places in the human heart, even when, especially when, it's too painful to revisit.